It's Lapras VMax up against Pikachu Zekrom. Welcome back everyone to more from the Stabilize. I'm Mitch, and today we're going to be taking a look at Pikachu Zekrom being played by me on the right hand side of the screen against Lapras VMax, who will be played by Blake on the left. This matchup's actually a really interesting one. You'd think that it would be relatively one-sided because of the weakness to Lapras VMax, but there is actually a lot of nuance to this match, so definitely worth a look. Blake starting off here going first. He's got a quick ball, discarding a water energy and grabbing a Snom. Frostmoth, which you can see in the left hand corner of the screen, is the key for Lapras VMax. It allows Lapras to have multiple energy attached per turn if it's on the bench, so that Snom is going to be very important for Blake. There's a Pokédoll there as well, a retreat from the type Null, and then another Pokédoll coming down, and this is a really strong start for Blake. He's got pretty much everything that he needs just to get himself going. Of course, not being able to play a supporter on turn 1 means that he's kind of limited in his options, passing the turn over to me. Now, I've got a Tapu Koko in the active here. It's probably a really strong way to start out this game because Tapu Koko has free retreat. Tapu Koko V has a couple of decent attacks, and this first one here does 20 for 1 lightning and draws 2 cards. So I'm going to be able to utilize that if I choose to attach. I could also go for the turn 1 full blitz as well if I have the option to, but it depends what cards I've got in hand as to what my play will be. Looks like I'm having a bit of a decision here. Faulkner obviously grabbing an energy, and I can grab one more item as well. It looks like I'm going for Tag Call, and whilst I'm in there I'll play that Tag Call, grabbing a Pikachu and Zekrom and a Guzmahala. Guzmahala will be strong next turn. Well, maybe having a think about it. Guzmahala will of course be strong next turn, being able to put a Thunder Mountain into play. Now it looks like I'm opting for the Raichu and Alolan Raichu here, so perhaps a different play is in order. An attachment to Tapu Koko. PikaRom comes down onto the bench, playing an Electro Power, which, oh my goodness, and a custom catcher, which will allow me to take a knockout on that Snom, and that's a horrifically unlucky way for Blake to start, because now he's lost his Snom, and that's a really rough way to go. Marnie here though will be able to shuffle our cards back to the bottom of our deck and draw 5 for Blake, 4 for me. It's pretty strong for Blake considering I searched out a couple of cards last turn, but I believe that he's probably still a little bit annoyed about that Snom getting knocked out. There was just a horrifically bad combination of cards for him to have to see come out of my hand there. Now, Blake's probably looking for another Snom here. It's kind of awkward. He's got an energy attachment to the active Clefairy Doll just to thin it out of his hands so that he can draw a couple more with Silvally GX, but it doesn't look like he's got access to that basic yet. A Lapras V comes onto the field. It looks like it might just be a pass because there's no Snom coming down. That's a big deal. Blake missing Snom for a couple of turns, obviously finding that the first one gets knocked out is a big problem, but missing the second one is an issue as well. I've got a Jirachi here with an escape board. I've got a Tapu Koko Prism and a Quick Ball, which is going to find the Dene, so that Marnie doesn't actually hinder my setup at all here. I'm getting very lucky, having the perfect hand in the first hand to deal with that Snom on the bench, and now the perfect Marnie to get myself into the cards I might need. I could potentially get a full blitz here, an attachment onto PikaRom and Tapu Koko, as well as a Thunder Mountain will do the job, and look at that, that's unbelievable. Guzmahala grabs Thunder Mountain, it'll grab myself a big amulet there to add an extra 30 HP to my Pikachu and Zekrom. I'll get the unit energy as well. And now, utilizing Tapu Koko Prism's ability, I'm going to be able to put an extra energy onto that Pikachu and Zekrom. After the attachment, there'll be 2 on there. There's the unit, there's the charm, there's the Thunder Mountain, and the Tapu Koko here gives me the option to utilize Full Blitz this turn to get some energies into the field of play. And this is what PikaRom does really, really well. It asks for very, very little in the grand scheme of things. All it wants is multiple energy on a PikaRom, and then suddenly your game is on. You're able to do pretty much anything that you like. Pikachu Zekrom obviously not taking a prize here, taking a knockout on that Clefairy doll, but it does power up that Tapu Koko V, which could potentially get a knockout on a Lapras VMax, as long as there is no weakness guard energy on it. Blake playing down Viridian Forest here, able to search out energy if he wishes, and looks like he's going to be playing Marnie again, trying to brick my hand a little bit here, shuffle me down to 4 whilst he draws 5. And the key for Blake is that he's going to be desperately looking for that Snom. He really wants it this turn. There's the fishing rod, which will be able to shuffle some Pokemon and energy back in should he wish. Goes for just the Snom there, putting that back into the deck. And you notice that that Lapras V does have the weak guard energy on it, so it's not going to be a simple matter of gusting that out and taking the knockout. I'm going to need to actually do 320 damage to it if it evolves into a Lapras VMax. Blake utilizes Silvally GX again here, but it doesn't look like he's got that Snom, and that's a big, big problem. He's got it to Dene though, so he'll burn that hand away and see what he can find off of these 6. He's not seeing Quick Ball either. Be hoping that he can draw into it, but it just doesn't look like it's happening here for Blake, and it's a real shame as well because this deck is incredibly strong when it gets going. He's got the Evo Incense here, so he could search out that Lapras VMax, give himself an incredibly strong, bulky Pokemon to utilize in the active position. He knows he's not going to get one shot at least, so he can utilize that here. And he does have that Clefairy doll in the active, so I wouldn't say happy to pass, but passing nonetheless. My board position here very, very strong. I've got myself an Alolan Raichu ready to get powered up from this PikaRom. Again, I won't be taking prizes, but as long as I've got an energy, which I'll be able to grab with that Viridian Forest, be able to attack. There's a Quick Ball coming down here, discarding an Electro Power, which is a bit of a weak discard, not a super good one for me. Obviously trying to utilize those Electro Powers to get closer to the knockout on the Lapras VMax, but I guess just thinning those cards out of my hand now, not seeing the use of them. I'm going to grab Marshadow here. Could be looking to get rid of that Viridian Forest so that Blake can't utilize it. But no, looks like it's just going to be a discard to grab myself another Lightning Energy. So discarding that Marshadow, grabbing a Lightning Energy, and I'm imagining that that will be attached to the active. There it is. And then there's a Magnolia as well, so getting rid of one of the custom catches there, so not going to be able to gust anything else this game, but I do have a ton more cards to utilize, and there's another Full Blitz, so 3 energy onto the Raichu, and now I've got 3 attackers powered up. I still haven't taken prizes. I've attacked 3 times and I've taken 1, but the prize that I did take was incredibly important. Blake now discarding Water Energy with Viridian Forest to find another one. Putting those Water Energy into the discard is actually quite strong for Blake here. He plays Energy Retrieval, so he'll be able to tutor those out later in the game. But he does need the Snom. That's still the key piece for him. And it's really a shame that he hasn't been able to find it. He's been thinning as much as he can, playing as many cards as possible, playing Marnie as well. Here comes another Silvally GX, and again, doesn't look like he's got that Snom. Those pesky Snom are kind of avoiding him here. Playing down Pokemon Catcher, could potentially be looking to take a knockout on Jirachi, or maybe even threaten on that Dene GX, but flips tails, which is a shame. Obviously, Pokemon Catcher relies on that coin flip, and it's one of those things at the moment where it could potentially be one of the best ways to play with Gust at the moment. PikaRom, because it plays Volkner, has the option to utilize those custom catches, but other decks don't, so you will see Pokemon Catcher floating around here and there. Lapras VMax attacking for 150 damage into this Pikachu and Zekrom, which has 270 with that big charm. And now Blake's found himself in a position where he knows he's not going to get this Lapras VMax knocked out next turn, but the big problem is there's still no Snom down, so that's a real shame for him. Switch from me into a Jirachi here, and now I've got a plethora of attackers to utilize. Quick Ball discards Guzma and Hala. Not going to be able to search a stadium. Looks like I'm playing down Absol here. Blake's not going to be too upset about that. Obviously, Absol only affecting basic Pokemon. That Silvally still has free retreat, so it's not that big a deal for him. There's a little bit of an error that I made in playing. Probably could have discarded that and utilized Viridian Forest instead, playing it down on the bench, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Looking at a Stellar Wish here. I guess the best card that I could realistically look for would be something like an Electro Power, just to hit into this Lapras VMax nice and hard. I could also be looking for Tag Switch and Energy Switch. I want to get those energies onto Pikachu and Zekrom so I can utilize Tag Bolt GX for 5 prizes, which will win me the game, but I do need to half hit this Lapras first, so grabbing a great catcher off of the Jirachi there. Probably no use in having that at the moment. It's just a matter of which Pokemon do I choose to go into to get this half hit on the Lapras. Tapu Koko could be the option because it has free retreat. Also only gives up 2 prizes since it's a V. Means that I'm not going to get really badly punished if Blake is able to take a knockout on it. So it looks like that's what I'm going for. I'm playing the Electro Power here and putting that down to I'm putting it on 230 damage. I think the key here, that Electro Power means that a Mallow and Lana could potentially save this Lapras, but hey, look at that, Blake's finally got one of those Snoms down. A little bit too late though. It would appear that my board is set up in such a way that I'm probably going to be able to win the game, but there's still a chance. Obviously, Blake's going to take 2 prizes here. He's going to knock out this Tapu Koko V, you would think. Attachment, though, goes onto the Lapras, so perhaps it won't. We've got the Evolution Incense being discarded with Quick Ball there in order to grab another Snom, just in case. And I presume that that will go down onto the bench as well. Looks like the bench might be a little bit low on Blake's board there. I'm not sure whether he's benched that or whether it's in his hand, but that's okay. And now he'll be looking for that knockout on the Tapu Koko V. He's not going to be able to get it due to that attachment onto the Lapras V on the bench. Would have been able to get it in the active anyway. Would have only been doing 180 with 4 energy on there. So it looks like it's just going to be another hit for 150 and then provides me with the time to get myself the knockout here. A switch into Jirachi means I can look at another 5 cards, and you'd have to think that all I'm really looking for here is a knockout on this active. I could potentially go for that big play where I tag Bolt and take the big knockout, and it looks like that actually might be the case here. If I've got an energy in hand, then I could very easily just attach and then tag switch my energy from that Raichu onto the PikaRom. I've got the energy switch and the tag switch, so all the energy off of that Raichu, tag Bolt GX for game, knocking out that Lapras and the Dedenne. And that's a real show of force from PikaRom there. Even though it didn't have the perfect first few turns, it can put on enough pressure throughout the game, even whilst attacking, taking no prizes, to still find itself in a leading position. It's a real issue because obviously Blake not being able to find that Snom means that his deck doesn't realistically work. Pikachu Zekrom, as long as you can get 1 full blitz off, you should be good to go. And that is the way that first game panned out. Now, Blake obviously will find the Snoms most of the time. Every game that I've played against him up until this point realistically has been games where he's found those Snoms, so I think that's a bit of an anomaly. Hopefully this second game in the set can be a little bit closer to what we'd expect to see in this matchup. Looks like I've got myself an active Pokemon here, as does Blake, so it looks like I'm starting with that Tapu Koko V again. A really strong start for PikaRom, and looks like a Volcanion Prism in the active for Blake, and the Ditto on the bench, so at least there's a Snom if it chooses to be, and it's just an attach and pass for Blake. That first turn no supporter rule creates some problems for decks in the early game. Looks like I'm going for a Quick Ball here, going to be able to discard a Lightning Energy. Depends what's in my hand as to what the best play here is. If I've got no cards that are worth playing, then it could just be a Dedenne. Could put a few extra energy into the bin, which will make Tapu Koko Prism much stronger. I could also potentially attach to the active and give myself a couple of extra cards next turn, but it does look like I'm going to go for the Dedenne here, and just draw myself a fresh new hand. PikaRom has enough going for it that if you do have to Dedenne away your first turn, it's normally not the end of the world, especially with things like Guzmahala and Professor Magnolia. You are able to search out those cards that you need very easily. So there goes a couple of energy, an energy switch in there as well, and that Absol, which didn't really do too much last game, heads to the discard pile, and it's just a matter of what I find off of that Dedenne. Looks like I've got a Tag Call here, and Tag Call is such a strong card for PikaRom, especially in this situation. Going to be able to search out Guzmahala, and it looks like Raichu and Raichu here, so that says to me that PikaRom is already in my hand. Guzmahala will be able to find the 3 key pieces ready to get myself going for a full blitz turn 1, discarding a Jirachi and a switch off of that Guzmahala for the unit, the amulet, and the Thunder Mountain. So now it's just a matter of, do I have myself a Tapu Koko Prism in order to put those energy down? There's the Quick Ball as well. This is unbelievable. The Dedenne that I've been given here has really given me the boost that I needed to get going, and it just shows you how few resources PikaRom really needs to get moving. We've got an attachment there, we've got the Charm, we've got the Thunder Mountain down, there's 2 energy already in the discard, so Tapu Koko Prism is going to be able to power up Raichu as well, and then Full Blitz, and that's a knockout on Volcanion Prism because of that weakness to Lightning, so that's a very, very powerful first turn, and again, Blake would not be happy to see that. 3 energy, going down onto the Raichu, and Raichu here, obviously threatening that big GX attack from Raichu is very strong here. But the key thing for Blake is he actually has all the cards he needs to get going here, so he should be fine as long as he is able to find that Snom. He's got a Silvally in the active off of that Evo Incense, so he'll be able to draw some extra cards if he needs to. And as long as that Snom comes down this turn, we should be A-OK. And there's Palkia actually as well. Very strong in this because Palkia has the GX attack, which does 150 damage, and then shuffles all of the energy that's on my board into my deck. And as you'll see, PikaRom has so much energy in play, it's a big, big issue if those energies do find their way into the deck again. So there's a very, very quick full blitz from me. Not really worried about pressure from Blake this turn. We'll attach all 3 of those to the PikaRom, and now Blake finds himself in a position where he's got a Palkia with 2 energy on it. He's got a Lapras VMax on the bench. There's a Viridian Forest that he's got down, and that's just a pass. Again, missing those Snoms. This is a real shame because Lapras VMax is a very, very strong deck. It really, really is. And this is not a fair representation of how these games should go, because just imagine if Blake was able to get himself that attack with Palkia this turn, then I would be in a real strife. I would be in a position where I've got no energy on the field. I've got no way of dealing with that knockout. So it's a bit of an issue, but as it stands, being able to discard that Mimikyu in order to find a Lightning energy, could potentially attach that to the active, and that looks like that's what I'm going to do here, and then tag... what are we doing here? Tag Bolt GX is going to take a knockout on the active, and then 170 onto the Palkia. Palkia has 190 HP, I believe, maybe 180, so I could be in a position where I'm expecting that Palkia to come out at some point soon. I want to be able to knock it out as easily as possible, and I could potentially do that with Tapu Koko V, which is on the bench, attach an energy to it, and take a couple of prizes. Blake looking for that Snom. He's got a Magnolia now. He's going to be able to discard his hand and draw 7 new cards, and hopefully he is able to find that Snom off of this hand. The real pain for him is that he's lost his Silvally GX to draw extra cards. There's a Quick Ball, so he's going to be able to find one, you'd think. But yeah, no, the lack of draw is going to be a big problem for him. He does have the time that he needs. He's got Clefairy's Pokédoll in the active, and he is going to be able to shuffle all of that energy in. So there is still a chance that Blake can pull this one back. There's 3 energy on the Palkia. I believe he needs 5, and this is going to be the real test here. If I'm able to find Double Custom to knock out this Palkia this turn, then the game is over. There's nothing that Blake is going to be able to do. Looks like there's nothing for me other than to just full blitz, so I'll find the energy and put them onto that Tapu Koko V, I presume. But Blake now has a chance, if he's able to find a couple of energy, can GX with Palkia, and then he'll be able to remove all the energy from the board. That great catcher bringing out the Raichu, and Raichu here trying to stall that one in the active. If he can, the Magnolia goes down, and the way here lining up here, we've got one water energy, and I think the Viridian is still in play, so he could potentially find another one off of that if he needs it. He's going to be able to GX this turn, which is going to remove all of my energy. There it is, there's that extra energy from the Viridian, discarding a Lapras V. So Palkia is in play here. And look at that, even gets the Weak Guard energy onto the Lapras VMax. So this is a big play here from Blake. 150 damage, and shuffles in all of the energy on my board. And boy, this is going to be a real tough one to come back from, because every single energy that I have worked hard to get into play is now gone, completely gone. And I'm going to need to rely on a little bit of luck here. I'm going to need to retreat this Raichu if I'm able to, and find an energy. There's a switch, so I've at least got that going for me. And the energy is free with Viridian, but looks like I've got one in hand anyway, so I'm going to be able to take a knockout on this Palkia here, which will remove a lot of energy for Blake, but I'm still in a position where I've got nothing realistically going for me in the next few turns. Blake could just power up a Lapras VMax and start taking big knockouts, so there's the knockout for me, drawing a couple of cards as well as taking a couple of prizes. Seems very strong, but I'm very frightened at this point. I've got no energy on anything other than Tapu Koko, and if Blake's able to have a really, really big turn with energy, then it could potentially wrap up the game for him, even though he hasn't taken any prizes yet. Pokemon Catcher here doesn't work. There's a failure there, so he's not able to fire that one off to take a knockout on that Raichu, which is a bit disappointing. There's a Dedenne getting rid of Professor Magnolia, choosing to save that, to deny himself that extra card in order to guarantee himself the use of a supporter that comes up. He's got a reset stamp here as well. Looks like he might opt to play that. I'm on one prize, so I imagine it's probably not a bad idea. And he's gonna Marnie first. He's gonna Marnie the hand away. Obviously, no point playing reset stamp if you are going to then play Marnie. Just a waste of a resource. So I hope that I brick off of 4 cards would probably be Blake's best idea here. But the thing that is really concerning for him is that he doesn't have access to a lot of energy. He's going to have 3 on this Lapras, but that's only going to do 150 damage. He's not going to be able to get a knockout on this Tapu Koko V, which means that I'm going to be able to utilize its first attack for a couple of extra cards next turn. Not going to be able to take a knockout, but going to be able to put that Lapras down to 300 HP, which could eventually come up, I don't know. So that Snom retreats, and instead of going for the Lapras, he instead chooses to just place that Clefairy in the active. Smart play. It's going to be awkward for me to knock out. I'm only doing 20 damage, so I'm probably not even going to be able to knock this thing out this turn. And especially with a bad Marnie like that. Attaching an energy onto Pikachu and Zekrom here. Obviously identifying that this attacker is going to be the one that I need to utilize. And then just the 20 onto the Lily's Clefairy. Drawing a couple of cards. Slowly building up my hand again, but no, Blake denies. That's another Marnie. And these cards go back to the bottom of my deck. So another new 4 for me, 5 for Blake off of the top after shuffling our hands and placing them on the bottom. And now that Lapras VMax is getting very, very strong. Quick Ball being discarded off of Viridian Forest. And there are a ton of energy on this Lapras now. You'd have to think there's the reset stamp as well. That's crushing. Going down to 1 card. And Lapras coming into the active is going to be able to take a knockout on this Tapu Koko V. And I've only got 1 card in my hand, so I'm going to have to get exceptionally lucky to get out of this one. 2 prizes to Blake. And then I'm going to need to find myself a way to deal with this turn. Dedenne goes into the active. An attachment onto PikaRom, and I've managed to top deck the Magnolia there, which is a real issue for Blake. If he'd been able to buy 1 turn off of that stamp, then he might have been able to get there, but doesn't look like it's going to be the case. Tag Call is going to find a Pikachu and Zekrom, as well as any other tag teams that are left in the deck. At this stage of the game, there's probably not that many, so I'd imagine that it's probably just going to be that one in order to thin, and then shuffle the deck back up and play the game. There's a Jirachi coming down as well. I think the key here is that I'll need to find Gust. I'm never knocking out this Lapras VMax. I'm obviously not attacking this turn either. But after that, Dedenne gets knocked down. I'm going to need to find energy, so that's just a pass from me. And Blake still has an opportunity here if he is able to get a ton. There's another money. He's just putting so much pressure on, removing my hand turn after turn after turn. So again, forcing me to get a little bit lucky off of my top decks here. If Blake is able to keep putting the pressure on, then he could potentially come out on top still. I'm going to need to find Gust here. So we'll see. There's an energy, and then double custom catcher off of the money is really rude. Brings out the Frostmoth and takes the final prize for game. I think that's actually a more fair representation of that particular matchup, although I will say very unlucky for Blake there to not be able to utilize his strategy for most of that set, not being able to find Frostmoth and Snom in the early game. So a bit of bad luck there for Blake. Didn't get to see the full potential of Lapras VMax in that one, but we did get to see just how consistent PikaRom is at setting up. It doesn't need a lot to go for it in order to get it going, and when it goes, it's capable of dealing a lot of damage. Thanks very much, everyone, for sticking around and watching this one to the end. Did you know that people that watch our channel, only 40% of them are actually subscribed? I know, crazy, right? I mean, 60% of the people who watch aren't subscribed. If you would like to be subscribed to the channel, and how can I blame you? It would be an exciting prospect for all of us. Then just click this button, it's just here. You can click that one and subscribe. Over here are some videos you might like to watch, and down here is a playlist for more of our testing. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at @thesableize_YT. And thanks everyone for coming along. We'll see you all next time for more from the Sableize. Bye.